What's good, people? In our last episode, we talked about all the problems with Diddy. The sex trafficking lawsuits and allegations, the federal authorities rolling up to both of his mansions and conducting search warrants, and all the evidence they probably seized and were looking for. Well, now they've interviewed their witnesses, they've gathered their evidence. What's going to happen next? Join me in a legal deep dive and talk about the potential criminal prosecution of Diddy. Now that the federal authorities have got Diddy in their sights, I want to talk to you about how I think the prosecution is going to go in this case. Now, I've defended criminal cases in state and federal court for years, and normally federal authorities make something that's called a historical case. And the best way to explain that to you is to distinguish and contrast a federal prosecution from most state prosecutions, okay? Now, in state court, they normally prosecute you based on one incident. They catch you with the drugs and prosecute you for that one specific instance. Or you're involved with a prostitute, they catch you at the hotel, they prosecute you based on that one night or your conduct for that one evening. That's how most cases are made in state court. In federal court, they make something called historical cases, where they don't prosecute you based on one isolated incident. They prosecute you based on an ongoing pattern of illegal activity that often takes place over months or even years. In some cases, I've actually represented defendants who had actually stopped the criminal activity. They got out, they were leading a normal life, and then a year, 2 years later, they find themselves being caught up in a federal indictment for activity and conduct they engaged in years ago. And they're thinking, how'd this happen? I'm not even doing this anymore. Well, too bad, unfortunately, because they're prosecuting based on conduct you engage in over a long period of activity. And how these cases are different is, you have a large number of witnesses that give corroborating testimony and details about ongoing criminal activity involving a defendant. In this case, it'd be Diddy. Now, what's tough for the prosecution is they rarely have physical evidence. I mean, people don't hold on to evidence of crimes that occurred a year, 2 years ago. So that's one thing that's good for the defendant. You rarely have any physical evidence. However, what's problematic is when you have the numbers of witnesses that when they start coming together and corroborating each other, at some point, the numbers just catch up with you. Like I tell my clients, it's one thing for me to question the credibility and raise doubt about the veracity and truthfulness of one witness. Let's say they just have one witness, and that witness has been in and out of drug rehab and has, a horrible criminal record, whatever. Hey, I can, have a field day on cross-examination, slice and dice all day long. Okay, you add in a second witness, you add in a third witness, and you throw in some that really have nothing to gain. They haven't filed lawsuits, they don't have any criminal charges pending. They really don't have anything to gain by getting on the witness stand and telling their version of what happened, what they saw, what they knew. That's when you start having problems as a defendant. That's what I think is going to be, facing Diddy when this case goes to trial. And yes, you can claim this person is a hanger-on, or this person's a drug addict, or this person was following you around the world, flying in your jet and living in your mansion for free and benefiting from your lifestyle. All those things are true. But these people are the ones in your circle. They're the ones that were at your mansion. They're the ones that have photographs of you and them on social media, you hanging out with your friends. I mean, they have been with you in your circle for a long period of time. And when their conduct and their statements are corroborated by other individuals, that is just problematic. I think we saw the same thing in the R. Kelly case. When the trial first started, you're looking at these witnesses and saying, hey, these are just people that were living a $1 million lifestyle. They were free to leave, they weren't victims, they're trying to get a payday, they're mad because they got kicked out of the circle. And then you heard another witness testify, and then another one, and another one. And it kind of got to the point where you got to go, something, this is the problem. We can't just stand in front of the jury and say, hey, 15 people are lying. You know, the girls are lying, the cook's lying, the chauffeur's lying, you know, everybody's lying. You know, that dog just doesn't hunt. Now, in my opinion, what's the likely outcome? Well, you know me, I gotta call it like I see it. It's not the same way it was 20, 30 years ago, where if someone sued a celebrity for an allegation of sexual misconduct or sex crimes, you know, the celebrity writes them a check for a couple $1 million and they agree not to testify and it goes away. Those days are over. And in a case like this, a federal prosecutor is not going to be looking to give him a sweetheart deal. At the same time, I can't see somebody like Diddy pleading anything. He's going to use his money to give himself the best possible legal defense that he can get. In this case, will likely go to trial. Now, I'm certain his lawyers would do the exact same thing that I would do with these witnesses. Hey, I would back the garbage truck up to the courthouse. Hey, portray them as disgruntled employees, criminals, drug addicts, groupies, hanger-ons, people looking for a payday. Hey, you got to hit them with everything you got and something like that. However, like I keep going back to, at some point, the numbers just catch up with you. So his lawyers are definitely going to score their points on the witnesses, but I do think it's going to be the long game, and they're going to have a very, very difficult time trying to persuade a jury that everybody's lying and everybody's out to get him. And I think he's going to have a very, very bad result in the end. So that's what I think. Do me a favor, post your comments, tell me what you think about the impending criminal prosecution of Diddy. That's it. Well, that's all I got, but I do appreciate you taking the time to join me on this legal deep dive. I think it's always fun to discuss these topics, tell you what I think, and get your feedback. I would really appreciate it if you took the time to like the video, subscribe to the podcast, and also I'd appreciate you sending me your comments so we can discuss the topics you want to hear about. That's it.